Am I the asshole because I gave my wife a dog? Growing up, my in-laws would not allow their children to have pets. They said it was because Mill was allergic. I grew up with 2 giant slobbering beasts. My brothers. The 3 of us each had a dog. We lived on a working farm and it was sort of expected of us. I met my wife in university, and the first time I met her parents, she made me wash everything I was going to wear and keep it separate from my other clothes so it would not affect her mom. Long story short, her mom just hated animals. Not allergic at all. We have 2 children, and unfortunately the complications from our last child means that she will literally be our last child unless we adopt. Our baby just went into grade 1 and my wife works from home. She is lonely during the day and she said she wanted a dog. So I got her a dog. One that she researched and approved of. He has hair rather than fur, so he won't shed too much. We got him from a rescue and he seems very happy to be home with us. Our kids also like him very much. My mother-in-law is pissed that, knowing her allergies, I would get a dog. She won't be able to come over to the house or have the kids come over because they will be covered in dog fur and dander. It took everything I had not to call her a liar. But I held my tongue and just let it slide. Now I am hearing from her other kids who are saying that I keeping her away from her grandchildren and that I should get rid of the dog before my wife and kids get too attached. I want to tell them all that their mom lied, but my wife made me promise I would not. For the record, my wife already loves that mutt. Not the asshole. You gained a dog and lost an Mill. Fair swap. YTA for not paying the dog tax, show us the dog. Not the asshole for getting the dog. My wife and I have a few dogs, I love the little suckers. I have a hard time relating to people who can't find joy in dogs. Not the asshole. Faking an allergy to get your way has got to be one of the most pathetic and manipulative behaviors out there. That is next-level gaslighting. Enjoy your dog. Personally, I think the rest of the family needs to know what a liar your Mill is. How many of the others would love to get a dog but have been depriving themselves because of that woman? Not the asshole. The dog sounds like a good boundary enforcer, haha. Long story short, her mom just hated animals. Not allergic at all. How do you know that? Am I the asshole for not giving my nephew my dog? Just some background info. My 33F sister, 35F, moved in with me and my partner 6 years ago when my nephew Jaden, now 11, was 5. She was going through a really rough breakup with Jaden's father and needed support. She started dating Steve about 2 years ago and they just recently moved in together. About a year after they moved in, I adopted a husky mix named Flynn. My nephew loves Flynn to pieces. Flynn is a very well-behaved but active guy. We have a fenced-in yard for him and we also take him for 2 walks a day. He was kennel trained as a puppy while we were working on potty training, but now that he's older we never lock him in his kennel. The door is just open with his dog bed and toys in so he can lay in there as he pleases. Here is where our issue started. My sister and Jaden just moved in with Steve. Jaden was really sad to be leaving our home, but we tried to make plans so he could come back and visit whenever he wanted and encourage him to give Steve and their new family a chance. Jaden asked me if he could take Flynn to his new house. I was very sympathetic and had a serious conversation with him about it, but I told him the answer would have to be no. Steve is afraid of big dogs. He always avoided Flynn while visiting in our home and would make comments about keeping him in his cage. Also, as much as my nephew loves Flynn, he was never responsible for his care in any way, and I don't think he understands how much responsibility it takes. I thought that was the end of the story, but I recently got a phone call from my sister, furious that I wouldn't let Jaden have his dog. She said that Steve wanting to kennel the dog wasn't a deal breaker and I was just being selfish. I explained to my sister that Flynn needs a lot of exercise. We have a large, fenced-in yard. She does not. We take him for multiple walks a day and we never keep him locked in his kennel. At this point he's 5 years old. He hasn't been locked away in his kennel since he was a puppy potty training. She argued with me that he would only be in the kennel until Jaden got home from school and overnight. That's the majority of the day? And that she would make Jaden walk him. I told her that I was sorry, but Flynn is my dog and I'm not budging. She told me that I'm not welcome in her home anymore and that I'm no longer allowed to see my nephew. This is not behavior that's normal for my sister, and it's made me wonder, am I the asshole for not just giving my nephew my dog? Not the asshole. A 11-year-old kid cannot take the responsibility about a dog. You are a very careful dog owner and your decision is absolute correct. Not the asshole. I'm guessing your sister is having an emotional reaction to the fact that her son isn't enjoying the move and is asking to go back to yours. Maybe she was hoping that Flynn moving to theirs would fix everything and is a little desperate with things not working out. Ultimately, when a pet is included in our lives, we are responsible for making healthy decisions for them, and Flynn staying with you is the healthy decision. I hope your sister calms down and things get back to a relative normal soon. Not the asshole. Flynn was never your nephew's dog, and keeping a high-energy dog locked in a cage all day is terrible. If her boyfriend is afraid of big dogs, then they can get your nephew a little dog or a cat that wouldn't be neglected to a cage for the majority of the day. If this isn't normal behavior for her, then keep an eye on that boyfriend. Am I the asshole for calling my dad a loser who never got over my mother? Context. My, 31M. Father, 59M. Got a divorce from my mother when I was 13 because he cheated. My sister, 28F, Lily, who was 10 at the time, caught them and told my mother. My dad ended marrying his affair partner, but he's always resented sister for this. My mother never forgave him and she never spoke to him again outside of co-parenting. My dad felt as though he owned my mother, and he caused a lot of problems when she remarried and was able to have a child with my stepfather when she suffered many miscarriages with my dad. He gets visibly very moody when I talk about my stepfather, half-sister from my mother, or my step-siblings. Lily is also divorced from her ex-husband Daniel, 32M, but they're still close friends. They share some cats and constantly hang out together, and Daniel still comes to our family events sometimes because Lily feels safer with him around. They're both autistic, so I think they don't want to bother finding someone else to be close to. They don't live together anymore but spends most of their free time together. My dad constantly mocks Lily for hanging out with her ex. He alternates between saying Daniel is a loser and not good enough for her, calling her a loser for not getting over him, or trying to convince her to date one of his friend's sons. Lily gets very overwhelmed, but she likes to handle things on her own, so she tells him to leave her alone. However, at a recent family function, my dad decided to taunt her in front of everyone. He was speaking our native language, so Daniel didn't understand, but he was mocking her for being a desperate loser who still wasn't over Daniel. It was pretty vile and Lily became visibly upset. I had enough, so I said, in English, that he was a pathetic loser who never got over my mother and was taking his frustrations out on Lily for something she did as a child. I then said that he was jealous that Lily was able to have a good relationship with her ex-spouse because he wasn't. He was infuriated and we got into a massive argument. Daniel, Lily and I ended up leaving, and a few cousins did too. The whole family is split. Most of the older generation are saying that I'm a disrespectful asshole and I should have defended Lily without insulting my father. Our cousins say that I was right and he deserved every word I said. Lily is upset about the argument because it triggered her, but she says that what I said and did was right. Daniel has the same opinion as Lily. Am I the asshole? So it's okay for your dad to publicly insult your sister, but it's rude when you publicly insult him? Not the asshole op, your dad is an asshole. Not the asshole. Good for you for standing up for your sister when she was becoming visibly distressed. Your father needed to be put in his place. Not the asshole. Older generations sometimes demand unconditional respect and politeness, even when they themselves are disrespectful and rude. That's not okay. Not the asshole. Even if Lily wasn't a child, holding a grudge because he cheated and she snitched is baffling, because was she not gonna tell her mother and chose her over a cheating aw? He should be ashamed for putting his daughter in an uncomfortable position. Out on Lily for something she did as a child. You should have said it's not her effing problem he couldn't put his D under his pants. She did what she do for her mother and he's delusional for thinking she'd ever chose him over her. Am I the asshole for calling my aunt classless and outing her biggest secret to my whole family? Throwaway because I don't want this on my main. I, 25 female, have always been really close to my cousin, D, 22 male. He had a harder time growing up because his parents had some financial difficulties. He never went to bed hungry, but they didn't have much money for luxuries. My uncle met his wife in a strip club where she was dancing. No one in the family knows this, but she left that work when she got married. They have a business, which D works for, that struggled for years but was one of the businesses that became vital during the pandemic, so things really turned around for them and they are making bank. This means that a few months back my cousin could have an amazing wedding and a 2-month-long worldwide honeymoon. I was really happy for and proud of him. I grew up solidly middle class, nothing lavish, but we had some things that some would consider luxuries. My parents, however, were not in a position to pay for college for me, which I was chilled about, and I got loans. I have been working for 2 years and I still live with my parents while I pay off the loans. I unfortunately couldn't get my master's because it wasn't financially viable. Last weekend was my birthday party and my cousin showed up without a gift. His wife made a comment, jokingly, about how they can't afford anything after spending $X on their wedding. None of this bothered me because gifts are not an expectation, but my dad was visibly upset. I asked him about this and he opened a can of worms. It turned out that I used to have a healthy college fund until my mom secretly lent it to my aunt and uncle to help save their business when I was 15. The agreement was that as soon as they were able they would pay it back to my mom. They haven't returned a dime. They have, in the last 3 years, bought a second house, flown first class overseas twice, and paid for Dee's wedding and honeymoon. Their excuse is that I am done with college and their son works hard so he deserves it more. My father got so annoyed at my aunt while relaying this to me that he decided to kick them out. While trying to calm him down, I said, "We both know she only thinks about herself, and Dee, if she had any class she wouldn't dress like she's still a stripper." I was so preoccupied I didn't realize that my entire family had quietly walked up with the candles lit, ready to sing to me, and they heard everything. My aunt left and has since sent my mom a message that we will never be seeing that money as it is now compensation for her pain and suffering. I didn't mean to out her and be so rude. I was dealing with a lot of emotions and shock over this, I still am. My family doesn't know why we were so angry, so they just think I'm an A, and I don't want to tell them the whole story. But I'm not sure if it's excusable either way. So am I the asshole? Update and answers. My cousin asked me to meet him alone this morning. It turned out he knew nothing about it at all. His mom has been keeping it quiet. He took this week to consult with a lawyer to figure out how much they owe. He has also recently uncovered 2 things. Firstly, the business has been evading tax, so he is very glad we didn't take legal action. He has started the process to come clean and pay that back. Secondly, she also borrowed money from my grandparents, a decent amount, which she never paid back. They have since passed on, so the lawyer said that amount will form part of the estate and will be owing between the 3 siblings. My cousin offered to sell his house to pay in full immediately if need be, but as an alternative he and his lawyer have created a payment plan that would pay for my master's immediately. They will take over my loan repayments immediately. Once it is paid, they will continue paying my mom back monthly until the total is settled. We will obviously be going with the plan where he doesn't lose his home. Despite my cousin and his lawyers seeming fair, they have both advised me to find my own lawyer for my mom's interests, and they have offered to pay for that also. Because of the age of the loan and lack of effort to collect on my mom's side, they could legally contest it, or some if it, but my cousin won't be doing that. My cousin apologized to me profusely and said that he wouldn't ask me to keep this secret from the family, but appreciates that I kept it to myself and hopes we can continue that as long as he upholds the agreement we make. My cousin is an amazing human, and we will work with him to try to make the impact of his mother's actions on his life be as little as possible while remaining fair. And the best part of all of this was that he planned on giving me my gift after my party when we were alone because he didn't want to steal my thunder. It was a gift card, and inside the envelope was a sonogram. I am going to be a godmother soon and I can't wait. The answers. The money was in a savings account that was going to be used for my college costs. It was in my mom's name and so legally hers. She told my dad when I was applying for colleges. He's known for some time. I don't know if it affected their relationship and don't plan on asking. Her and my father have done little to get the money back because she is not coping well with stress due to being sick. My aunt was upset because I outed a 25-year-long lie, more so than people knowing her previous work. I have apologized to her for what I said via text and have left it at that. I have yet to hear back from her. I have also confronted my prejudice against sex workers privately. I won't deny I have judged her because of it. It's not something I am proud of. This blew up at a bad time because my dad had overheard that my aunt is so proud of my cousin for moving out and living on his own at 22. He just boiled over on my behalf. Not the asshole. You acted from emotions, and to be honest, your aunt is an awe. Do whatever you can to get that money back. Use the text your aunt sent to sue. People like that are horrid. You could still get a master's if you wanted to. They stole from you. Low-key think your mom is too, since she lent the money in secret initially and is prob a big reason your dad hasn't pushed for payback. Not the asshole you didn't shout it around the party. You mentioned it to your dad when you thought no one was around to hear. And your aunt was looking for any excuse not to pay the money back, so your comment was just convenient to that. Your dad should take her to small claims court if he has any evidence. Op just added a comment stating there is a contract. Turn this over to a lawyer.